Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now. Let's go to the co-main event, right? Because I feel like this is a much more
Exciting.
much more fun, exciting matchup. You got Belal Muhammad and Gilbert Burns coming in both on short notice, 2 weeks, right? And they're gonna go 5 rounds. They're like, hey,
Wow,
we're gonna
boys.
create our own destiny, right? By fighting each other. And this is what you love, man, in this sport, is like when they do put these fights together. And the only reason they're putting this fight together for this card is because Oliveira and Dariush was canceled and rebooked later on in the year. J-Spec, let's start with you, man. What do you see in this matchup?
The fight gods curse us by removing Dariush and Oliveira from our life, at least temporarily. But then they smile upon us and bless us with this great ass match. Dude, I couldn't love this anymore if I tried. Like, this is, we were talking about this issue, and I say the issue being the championship issue of the weight class, blah, 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 blah. And, obviously, Mr. Burns feeling a little disrespected, and all the other storylines that we had really wrapped up in this small group of fighters at this weight class. And man, I'm happy to see this being, like JHK said, like manifesting your own destiny. I don't know if it technically fits like that, but who gives a shit? 2 guys who are gonna make it pretty much undeniable, unarguable. They're gonna stand up in front of all of us. They're gonna fight each other. Somebody's gonna win, and we're gonna have a perfect resolution to the weight class and who's next and who deserves it and all that. It's good, because it was a little ugly and shitty, honestly. I didn't like talking about it already. Now it's like I said, everything's fixed. The rainbows come out and the fight gods are all happy.
Sicko, man. What do you think?
I want to believe the fight itself is going to be great. I'm really excited that this fight got put together. I honestly wish they would both have a full camp. I want to see them both at their best in a 5-round fight. But it is what it is. They had to make it happen. I think both of them, especially Belal Muhammad, has felt like he has to just go out there and just make it himself and be so undeniable. And I want to believe you, Rob. I want to believe that this answers the question of who's next. I want to believe you that whoever wins this fight, you can't deny it anymore. They took it on each other. They've been active. They've been winning. So whoever wins this should be next for Leon. It ain't happening. Whoever wins this is next after Colby fights Leon. Like, unfortunately, man, I want to see the winner of this get the title shot. Of course we do. We always want to see the people who are earning it, who are active, who are in there, not the person whose last fight was in a restaurant when he got sucker punched by Jorge Masvidal. Like, we want to see the guys who are out there doing what we ask of them, right? Entertaining us and being those warriors. But Colby's just promised, dude. And unlike Sean O'Malley, right now saying, hey, I can still see a situation, because Dana and these guys haven't really came out and said Sean O'Malley is guaranteed the next title shot. They've been like, yeah, we'll see, like they always do. They didn't say that with Colby. They said 100%. And then when they asked Dana again, he said Colby's next. And every time somebody brings it up, he goes, Colby's next. I don't know what they got. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what kind of behind the scenes stuff is going on, why Colby is promised this spot. And he doesn't even have to fight anybody to get it. But it's going to be Colby next. And then these guys are just fighting for the next spot. So I think whoever wins this, their next fight 100% will be for a title. But after Colby fights.
Boo.
No. This matchup, though. Like, let's talk about the matchup and what we're going to expect out of these fighters. Let's get some of these comments. Mani says, I see him putting a pace on Gilbert and staying away from big shots. Preston, I love how both these guys stepped up, but I see it being kind of a boring as well. Belal's pace going to be too much. So both guys believe Belal's pace will be the story of the fight. Like I said, $1,000, you win, you get 10,000. What do you see happening? Let's start with J-Spec first.
Man, Damn. What I really see happening is what I don't want to see happen. I see Belal winning this fight via a wrestling match. Both guys have shown really good action in that department. Gilbert obviously showing great skills there in so many different ways, and to maybe even counter with a submission that could happen. But most likely, I see Muhammad just taking him down frequently, having to get back up because Gilbert will get back up. And I see both guys working their balls off in a forever marathon type of wrestling match. And yeah, Belal wins this match by decision. I didn't want to say it, but I did. My heart goes with Gilbert, and my fan that goes with my heart thinks that if there is any snowball's chance in hell for Gilbert Burns to be doing anything great with his career, it has to happen now, and he has to defy the odds. Oh, is he the favorite in this fight? It looks like he's the favorite. So he should do not defy the odds. Go with the odds and beat the guy they expect you to beat.
Sicko, what do you see?
Gilbert Burns by submission. I understand why everyone's saying Belal's going to put that pace on him, and this is why I had just said earlier, I wish this fight was with a full camp where they're not coming in last minute or not being 3 rounds. I think Belal can't do what he usually does. I think he has to be a little more patient. I feel like he has to be a little bit more measured. I mean, he's always measured. I'm not saying Belal goes in there, you're like a wrecking ball and just fucking goes crazy, but I don't think he's going to be able to really set a pace early on. I think he's going to try to pace himself, and then round 3, once you get into round 3 and from 4, then he starts picking it up. But I can see a situation where Gilbert lands a big shot on him. Belal's force, we talked about it before, where hey, sometimes Gilbert Burns is a bad man on the ground. Sometimes you understand that jiu-jitsu pedigree that Gilbert Burns has, which people sometimes forget because Gilbert loves to throw some power shots. Gilbert loves those overhand rights. But sometimes people forget Gilbert's a bad man when it comes to jiu-jitsu. And I can see a situation where Belal gets hit, Belal gets tagged, and he shoots a takedown, and Gilbert ends up in a darce, or they just end up in a scramble where Belal's forced to give his back. I could see an arm triangle. I could see a RNC. I could see a darce that I said earlier. Like, that's how I see the fight. I don't want to do decisions anymore, man. I got bummed out talking about the main event, about how it's going to be boring and go to a decision. Gilbert Burns by submission. That's what's going to happen. Place your bet. Thank me later.
All right. Belal Muhammad, man. He's on an incredible run. And one thing about that run is that he kind of sticks to the same game plan. And he just grinds the gears on that and just wears on guys. And I don't think he's taken a short notice fight throughout that whole run. I don't think he has. And that's something interesting to look at as well. You know what I mean? I believe he was training the whole time. I believe he's been working the whole time to be ready whenever the opportunities come. So I don't think he's not prepared. But is he full camp prepared? That's the question.
And coming off of Ramadan as well.
And coming off of Ramadan, I don't know the situation with that. But, people say that, you can't train as hard as you want to in that situation. And I feel Belal is not going to change anything up because it's been working for him the whole time. He's going to work, he's going to do what he wants to do. He's going to put the pressure on you. He's going to try to grind you down and either win a decision or try to TKO you with volume, right? And I feel like that's what he's going to do. Gilbert knows that. And I think Gilbert's prepared. Gilbert's like one of the most cerebral guys out there, right? He's always ready for everything. And he kind of understands like where you're strong and where he's strong. And I think he learned so much from, which fight he learned so much from is the title fight, where I think he made the most mistakes, is where he went out there and he was just overzealous.
Winging them. Yeah.
Winging them too hard. And he learned so much from that, you know what I mean? And I think that fight was actually really good for him. And I wish that fight would actually happen to him before the title fight, because I think the title fight would have been much different. But anyways, Gilbert, he's ready. He has this massive team behind him as well, right? He's got like nutritionists, SSC coach, like he has a major team around him. I don't know if Belal has that, right? To get him ready in such a short period of time. But sometimes you don't need that as a fighter, right? Sometimes you just need to train and just step in there and you perform. But I think this is what's going to happen. I think Belal goes in there and he uses the same game plan, but he's gonna grind himself down. You know what I mean? Gilbert's gonna be able to grind with him. You know what I mean? And Gilbert's gonna be able to pick his spots, and Gilbert has the power to hurt him. You know what I mean? And I think that is going to be the difference maker on the feet. It's going to go to the ground no matter what. These guys are going to scramble. These guys are going to try to, look for submissions. But I think Gilbert's going to win this fight. And I think Gilbert's going to win this fight in the later rounds. I think this, Belal's not going to go away easy. I think he's going to go away in like the 3rd, 4th, or 5th round. I think that's what's going to happen. Or it's going to be a decision. But I see the submission as well. I see that Gilbert's going to, he's going to tire him out. He's going to out cardio him.
Oh, this is a 5-round fight. Shoot,
yeah.
My bad. Okay.
Yeah, so, I think it only helps him that he did fight Jorge. And that fight wasn't even a hard fight for him.
No, for real.
If you go back and watch that fight, he didn't really, he didn't take many shots. You know what I mean?
No.
Like, he just went in there and kind of like did what he wanted to do. He just couldn't finish him. And now he's off to the next one, and he's super determined. And he also knows that that this is his time. If he doesn't win this fight, he understands that he has to go to back of line, which means pretty much, it's going to be hard for him to go for the title again. So he's putting everything into this, right, to getting the title shot, to putting himself in there. I feel like that's mentally, you're in a different place, and I feel Gilbert Burns is going to go out there and do his thing. But it's going to be a crazy fight, man. I hope it's not boring. I mean, because imagine co-main event and main event, both boring fights. That would be terrible.
I don't think it's going to be boring. I think it's going to be a grappling like masterclass that the not grappling inclined fan might bitch about, while the rest of the UFC fans go, "No, that was great." What do you mean? That's what I think.
If that does happen, Gilbert Burns has a huge advantage, because Gilbert Burns has so much experience in ADCC, which is just all grapple, heavy, just super scrambles, everything, and he's excelled in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
even if Belal's scoring takedowns, he's still not safe there.
Yeah, because he's gonna go for submissions. Like, he understands, and he's he trains with like one of the best no-gi grapplers in the world. Wagner Rocha?
I mean, even Hamza, right? Hamza was able to take Gilbert down twice, and Gilbert got back up. Like, he wasn't able to. And we've seen Hamza ragdoll dudes and get submissions quickly. Not against
Gilbert, I don't think he's gonna fight like that either. I've done interviews with him. Actually, I did an interview with him a couple days ago for this fight coming up, and I interviewed him before the last fight against Jorge. And his demeanor and like his effort and his like the way he programs everything for his fights now, and he understands he's older, right? He understands like he doesn't have much time. The window is closing, so he cannot make mistakes. And that's a different type of Gilbert, right? After that Hamza fight, his wife told him, like, you can't get into those fights anymore. Like, you can't just go in there and try to entertain
force into that one, man. He's kind of forced into that one. Hamza is a wild boy. You kind of have to.
But he could have stayed back and like kind of like try to play the distance game with Hamza, but he just went in there into the fire, and arguably he might have won that fight too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think people would have argued if he would have got the decision winning that one. So, but I don't think we're going to see that. We're not going to see these guys winging crazy punches. And there's so much on the line, dude. So much on the line in this fight. So we'll see, man. I'm excited for it.